Hello and welcome to the She Force Show. I'm your host, Amy Carlson. Today I have my friend, Lindsay Marten Ellis, that I am just delighted. I feel like we're kind of overdue for this, but I'm delighted it happened in this moment. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you. I totally agree. This is a long time coming, and it's just beautiful to we've weaved in so many ways together just to be sitting here virtually, seeing your beautiful face. I'm elated. My soul is jumping for joy right now.
Yay. So I'm going to kick this off right away. Before we hit record, I asked if there was any title that you wanted to be introduced with. And your response was,
No, thank you. For lack of a better word. Yeah.
yeah,
Would you like me to share more about that
yes,
or?
I would.
Yeah, where do I even want to start? And I know before we hit record, you had mentioned that I believe your son has something to do with it. And I am in the postpartum time, and I believe postpartum really never leaves us because our kids continue to evolve and grow. And I have an almost 14-month-old son, and I moved to a new state while that was happening. So been a lot of shifts in my identity, and I love me some transformation. And so the shifts happen very quickly, and they feel very like I can feel that when there's shifts that happen in my life, I like to go big. It's not usually a gradual thing. And I feel like for much of my life, I really prided myself on status and success and having a name and it meaning something and like people knowing who I am in the world. And the more that I connect with myself in deeper ways in this season of motherhood and entrepreneurship and what it means to be a woman in leadership during this time, this simplification keeps coming through around it. Actually, none of that actually really matters. I can share the things that I love. I can share the things that light me up. I can share the things that I offer in the form of who I am in the world. Um, but the labels, I'm noticing the less that I seem to put myself in the confinements of any sort of box, the more the lighter I feel, the deeper my connections, the more the abundance comes in, the deeper and the more meaningful my relationships. So I'm just going to keep riding that wave, and it could change, but in this moment, it doesn't feel important.
Beautiful. And to even be in this space to really tune into that and recognize that. Um, I know that you are that. I'm sure that I'm guessing this has always been a part of you, but to me, um, you are that deep soul seeking essence. And yeah, weaving that idea and what you just described about the season of life, this sort of moving away from um, having certain identifications, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, what does that look like I'm just curious, in your, how does that affect your schedule? What does that look like in your relationships?
Hmm.
And the vision that you see moving forward?
Yeah. Well, it's funny as I wrapped up my share, what kept coming through was like, you're a mother, and it took me time to identify as a mother. And so I think it's important when we're shifting and when we're evolving, right? All of a sudden we're thrown into this archetype of the mother, right? Like we carry a child, the child comes earthside, and then everybody just expects us to be a mother and know how to be a mother. And there's so much pressure to like bounce back, and we put so much pressure on ourselves to do the right thing, and it's so overwhelming. And I believe that for my personal journey, that there's nothing like stepping into this motherhood portal that has totally shown me what it means to quantum leap in a very short amount of time. It is the ultimate rebirth. And it's been very challenging. It's been the most challenging season of my life. And I feel very strongly about talking about the challenges of when we evolve, when we consciously choose something, when we step into something, and me shifting my relationship with challenge. And as a deeply feeling woman who loves to seek for the sake of seeking, I believe that's why we're here. It's not to not have those excruciating, challenging moments in life, but it's what we do in those moments, right? How we respond and how we're able to move with whatever we're faced with. And that feels like a huge part of my journey is to be realistic and accessible and relatable. And I am not above all of the transitions that come with motherhood, including schedule, including my relationship with my partner, including what my business looks like, because everything foundationally gets completely brought back to the baseline when we step into this portal. And for my journey, I know that I'm meant to have two parallel paths of mothering and being in my sacred service work. And I signed up for that. And there's a lot of times that I have tantrums around it because there's times where I don't understand how I'm going to fit it all in. And I'm tired and something works and then it doesn't. And it's just this constant, um, humbling, like this humility that comes in over and over again. And I know that I am meant to do this. I am meant to be birthing two babies right now and fostering two babies. And I'm here for it. But I think it's important to, you know, it's important for us to truly learn and practice connecting with ourselves, that deep inner wellspring of who we are at our core so that we can discern, am I meant to just be putting all of my energy into mothering right now? Am I meant to be doing both? Like what does this get to look like for me? Because everybody's experiences and life paths are different. And it's required calling in a lot of support, and it's required letting go of control, letting go of perfectionism, and being brought to my knees time and time again. And I'm not afraid to say that out loud anymore. And then there was a part of me, the labeled part of me, who wanted people to think that I was something and made it to some certain point on this evolutionary journey or whatever it is, wanted to have all of the answers and have it perfect and have it figured out. And the part of me now just actually doesn't care because I think what people really want at this point in time is to relate to someone, to know that they're not alone, and to feel like, okay, she can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, like I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking that we are kind of at these different ends of this, well, different stages of in this journey with motherhood, with business. And so, my business kind of coincided with empty nesting. I know that's kind of a weird term, but for lack of, that my kids are now out on their own and that just to reflect on what you were speaking to of we each have our different things that really are those portals for transformation. And for me, it's been motherhood and business. And then they're intertwining
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
daily finding this space to say that it's okay, whatever I am feeling.
Yeah. Hmm. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are you finding supportive? as you are in this space, what are things and rituals and ways of being that are really nourishing you?
Well, what you just expressed, feeling it all. You know, so much of my work is centered around emotions, and I believe that our soul carries memories which are tied to emotions. And so if we're not feeling, then we're not connected to who we truly are. And we've been modeled to not feel. And so there's been because, right? So what we teach is generally the thing that gets shown the light on time and time again. And I've been expanding my capacities to feel um, and noticing I'm a Cancer moon. Like I'm a very sensitive soul and very sensitive being. I feel a lot. And throughout the day, I honestly, most days experience just about every emotion. And I'm like, what is this thing? Like, why? And so there's the thing where the mind wants to come in and say, like, shouldn't you be past this? Like, why are you still feeling this? And noticing because so this is what I think is really powerful when we are expanding our capacities, right? Like new patterns are coming up, emotions are coming up. I'm hosting an international retreat with my family. My mother-in-law is terminally ill with cancer. My husband literally just left this morning to go be with his mother, and she's in the hospital right now. And so there's just a lot of humaning. Like it's mothering and learning how to do this. I live in a new state and I don't have outside of my husband and my nanny who's part-time, I don't have a lot of support and the lack of sleep, right? Like all of the things. I feel like this is like this opportunity for me to just again be brought to my knees. So my practices are allowing myself to be brought to my knees, allowing myself to feel having structure. You talked about schedule, having a form, but being really adaptable within that. So meaning like a non-negotiable is getting outside, sunshine, vitamin D, moving my body multiple times a day. My body really requires movement. I mean, I went on a stroller walk this morning. I already worked out and did yoga, and I'm going to be doing something again outside later today. So I do a lot of moving meditations to feel like I can feel anxiety in my body if I don't move, for example. I can feel disconnected from myself when I get on social media or I turn my phone on from airplane mode before I do my devotional practices. So it's learning sometimes my son is my alarm clock before my alarm clock goes off. So there's a part of me that had tantrums and was like, I can't do my thing. And then I learned to adapt and be resilient. How can I create practices that still honor myself while things are moving around me? And I believe we're all in a pressure cooker right now. I don't think anybody is above feeling what we're feeling on the planet. And so the invitation is always the only way that we can determine what our practices are is by doing it. Is like, oh, wow, I feel anxiety. Let me go for a walk. Oh, wow, I'm feeling really anxious when I wake up in the morning. Maybe I should delay caffeine and maybe I should not get on my phone right away and see how I feel. So I take inventory of, okay, wow, today feels very different than yesterday. What did I do differently? So I'm very much devoted and committed to not feeling good all the time, um, but truly learning that emotions have messages for me. And can I give myself the space to feel because there's a reason why I'm feeling exhausted. There's a reason why I'm feeling anxious. There's a reason why I'm feeling depressed. What is that as a messenger? And oftentimes the shifts are profound. I get a lot of clarity. My shift state, my state shifts very, very rapidly. And it's not to like try to fix it or try to move through it quickly. It's just changing my relationship with, okay, this emotion is fleeting. What does it have for me? What wisdom can I glean from it? How can I give it the space to breathe so that I know how to navigate moving forward? And I think the last thing I'll say is we overcomplicate, I think, practices and spirituality and oftentimes we think we need this whole big ordeal when really it could be a 1 minute putting our hands on our body or going outside and going for a walk or giving ourselves a bath or asking our partner for support or calling a friend. And that feels so much simpler than feeling the need to have a big extravagant thing that then we tell ourselves we don't have time for, and then we beat ourselves up for not doing it, and then the cycle repeats.
Yes. Oh, so true. And I just had two clients recently that their aha was I can serve myself by allowing myself to go outside and feel the sunshine on my face.
Ugh, and doesn't that feel, that's like one of my favorite things to do,
Yeah,
especially as we're coming out of winter.
absolutely. Yes. So you spoke to it a little bit of one coming up, but I know that retreats are something that you love being a part of. Can you speak to that about, like what, why you do it, what you love about it, and what you notice for participants as well in retreats?
Yeah. I mean, we're in the Aquarian age now. Technology is a beautiful thing. I know you and I have been able to support women all over the world because of this beautiful tool. And I feel as a culture that we're so tapped in and connected in so many ways, and also so isolated and disconnected in so many ways. And as women, that oxytocin release when we are in circle, like women are meant, especially mothers, right? Like we are meant to be together in community and circle. And so much of my work is centered around my podcast is called the Lindsay Marten Ellis Experience. Like everything is about the experiencing the fullness of life. So being immersed in a culture. So my upcoming retreat is in Greece, being immersed in a culture, plucking ourselves out of the everyday, right? Meeting new people. My favorite part of travel is actually meeting the people at the coffee shops and like when I'm standing in line and just learning about how other people live. And that transformative container when you're live and in the flesh, there's nothing like it. Yes, like because right in the screen we're 2D, and yes, we can still have profound shifts. I've had so many profound shifts virtually, and I know you have too, and I know we both have supported our clients that way. But it just feels like a quickening in connection, community, culture, consciousness. Like it's all just happening in this beautiful portal. And I have been summoned by my higher self. In my devotional time, the messages are very clear that the earth is alive. And so there's ley lines around the world. There's specific places around the world that hold information. And I also believe that our soul like leaves us clues around the planet. And so individually and as a collective, this planet carries information, and we are little neurons of this planet as humans, right? Like we are made up of the same minerals of this planet. And so when we go to specific places in the world, we're connecting and supporting ourselves. But I believe as a byproduct of that, we're truly shifting the field in terms of the entire planet. And that is part of my greater mission. And some people might think that's super esoteric and like, well, you may have lost me, but that's the deep work that I've done in really connecting to my greater purpose, which is why labels don't really matter. It's like I feel in my heart, I know that going to Greece, I can feel the energy of what that land holds and how we can anchor it into our bodies. And as a result, because when we heal, right, the planet heals, it's going to anchor those specific frequencies in. And that just feels, when I think about it, traveling, like I'm a Sag rising, like I just, if I could have my little home sanctuary in the mountains and travel the world doing that for the rest of my life, I know that my soul would be just more than content. And so I'm following the impulse there and also following that. I know you know that feeling when you just witness another woman in her power and in her innate beauty and feeling that harmony within her being and trusting herself and finally feeling that confidence to do the scary thing. There is nothing like that. So it's a little bit of a both and.
Yeah. Oh, what a juicy description, and so heartfelt of your embodiment of retreats anyway, and what it means to you, and maybe not even just the word retreat, but being a traveler,
Yeah.
an experiencer, and then getting to do that intentionally with others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way I like to travel. It's like, give me a little travel and transformation. Sprinkle a little both in.
Mm, absolutely. And then this time you'll have your baby there too. Amazing.
Mhm.
So as we get ready to kind of wrap this all together here, is there anything that you're feeling like just being drawn to say, to share?
Yeah. Yeah. think a lot of this conversation is centered around humility and humanity. And I believe that the more human we are, the more we connect with our divine self, right? That pure part of us, whatever we want to call that part of us that knows, that part of us that, yeah, is just completely untouched. Right? We've got the shadows and we've got the pure part of us. And so I've noticed that the more that I can just be willing to acknowledge and accept the human aspects of me and the parts that I still judge or want to make go away or question, um, that's honestly when I feel most alive and when things just seem to be flowing in my life in an almost effortless way. And so there's something that I feel that we're scratching the surface on in this conversation. And you do such a beautiful job of that too, which it's like, can we just all walk each other home knowing that even though we have different experiences, we still have the same hurt and we still share the same joys and we still know what it's like to lose someone or what it feels like in the body to feel abandoned. And so there's something to what would it look like to just create the spaciousness to acknowledge and then ultimately accept those parts of us and see what opens up. And we do that through the practices that you mentioned. We do that through feeling. We do that through connecting just like this with other people who are on the devotional path. And I do believe that if we can all just do that for ourselves, like what a world that we would live in. So that's my invitation is to just explore like how human can I be today?
Mm.
As a spiritual practice and just see what opens up for you and where there may be some blind spots or some places that are asking to be looked at for healing and transformation. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. That question was for me. Thank you. I know how human can I be today? That just dropped in. Thank you. And I just knew that that my audience, I wanted them to meet you. And I am grateful myself as well for this conversation and this time together and just the sharing that you do so humanly and so raw and real. Um, I think you really hit on something there that is what we want to see and experience and maybe have permission to just allow. Yeah.
Mm.
So thank you so much. Ah, breathing into the moment and knowing that all the ways that people can connect with you and know what's going on in your world and listen to your podcast, all of that information will be in the show notes. So,
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, reach out. I always love hearing from people if you want to send me a message on social media or an email. I always just love hearing from, sometimes when we are having these conversations, we forget the lives that we're touching, and that connection is so important to hear what's impacting us and what's landing. I also love hearing what's triggering and what doesn't make sense, and all of that is welcome. All of you is welcome. So, looking forward to connecting with your beloved community. Thank you for having me.
thank you so much. So, until next time, everyone, know yourself, be yourself, and free yourself.
Mm.